بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أما بعد. First, just want to say, inshallah, we are trying to get back to our normal time or our normal gatherings of Friday night, which is considered the most, popular gathering after Friday khutbah. We used to gather, and this is our history here for the past decade. The Friday night Halaqa was the most crowded gathering after Friday khutbah, and of course that has been impacted. Great impact after the pandemic, and not only us, that's everywhere in the world, including even the Masjid al-Haram itself, and the Masjid al-Nabawi, because of the health issues of what we have gone through in the past year and a half. So we're trying as much as we can, inshallah, to get back to normal. I know some people are accustomed to stay home and watch the lectures over Facebook or the live streaming. That's why, in a topic like tonight or a gathering like tonight, I'm giving preference to those who are here. And yes, we are streaming over Facebook now, but I'm not able to see the comments. So if anyone's sending questions on the comments, I will not be able to see it. I will answer them later on when I see the comments. I will answer them privately, but they will not get the answer momentarily, because we're giving the preference to those who are here. And this is why we need to encourage that. We need to encourage that the people leave their houses and come with their families now to the masjid, because it's also part of the way that we raise our children. And the past two khutbahs that we are talking about, it is part of raising our children on the love of Islam and the love of the religion and the love of Allah Azza wa Jal, is to introduce the religion to them in a better way, so they can have the best times or the best memories of their lives in the masjid. So that when they grow up, something will always be attracting them to Islam, attracting them back to the masjid, even though sometimes they may actually not follow the religion properly as they grow up in some cases, but will there be eventually something that holds them attached to the masjid one way or another, then inshallah eventually they will come back to it. So part of that is coming and frequenting the masjid as often as we can, especially nights like Friday night, inshallah. And you all remember how the Friday night gatherings were in the masjid before the pandemic started, how they were like, alhamdulillah, they were good turnout every Friday night. So we're trying to restore that, inshallah. Tonight, inshallah, again, there were 10 questions that I had on that were given to me since after Ramadan. They were sent to me after Ramadan, and I did not get the chance to get back to them. So we'll answer these questions, and again, I will take questions from you. If you have a question, you are given the preference to ask before I can answer the questions here. So I'll start with the questions here. One question from here and one question from you. If you have a question, I can start with you now if you have a question. If you don't, then I will answer the question. The first question here, the question is about dyeing the hair with strange colors. Dyeing the hair. When you dye your hair with using weird colors, this is how the question was worded. Weird colors, I guess that when you see people dyeing their hair with purple or pink or things like this that you see, is that halal or haram? So dyeing the hair is not haram, of course. And the Prophet ﷺ in one hadith, when he saw a man that was actually his hair was totally gray, and he said, "غيروا هذا الشيء," change the color of the hair, and then he said, avoid dyeing using the black color. So the controversy over dyeing the hair black. Some scholars said you can, some scholars say it is only disliked, you can't, using the black color, only the black color, not about the fact of dyeing the hair. But dyeing the hair in general is okay, especially the Prophet ﷺ gave 2 recommendations using the henna or some other substance that will turn the hair into either dark brown or light brown, either dark brown or light brown. Instead of being gray, it will be dark brown or light brown. So dyeing the hair is okay, but the thing is talking about is dyeing the hair using these colors, these weird colors that the Christians was worded. Of course, if you try to attach yourself with some group of people, then that's the prohibition comes. For example, if a community group or a particular social group know that they dye their hair with this particular color, and then you dye your hair with this particular color to associate yourself with them, the prohibition comes in this particular scenario, that you are following, some people and practicing the practice of some people. For example, using, for example, as we mentioned before, the rainbow color, for example. In the past, the rainbow color was okay, but now the rainbow color is associated with a group of people. Using that, it's not haram. The color in itself is not haram. What's not okay about it is that you are, for example, if you put the rainbow flag on your house, in front of your house, you know that this house is going to be perceived by others. You are associating yourself with some group. We're not judging people, and we just said you're associating yourself with this particular group, like it or you don't like it. Even if you like the color, but you do not mean to represent any group, you are going to be viewed as such. Because this known now as the flag or the symbol of some group of people. If you dye your hair based on that, for example, some people they have purple hair. They, for example, represent this particular group, and you just want to be like them. Then the prohibition comes in that particular scenario. That being said, also we as Muslims are required as Muslims, as mature people, as righteous people in society, not to do things that actually are that will make us looked upon in a weird way. For example, if you see someone, for example, dyeing his hair part orange, part yellow, part green, that person doesn't look normal to many people, right? It doesn't look normal to many people. Yes, there is. Everyone is free to do whatever he wants. This particular appearance is not normal according to the average of people, Muslims or non-Muslims. So why would you behave in this particular way and you be looked upon as a person who is maybe mentally unstable, or someone who is actually, not a person with a sound mind, or you don't need to do that. If you dye your hair in a color that's actually not attracting the attention of other people, any color is okay, again, but as long as it's not associating yourself with some group of people, or it is not something that is in the societal standard not rejected or weird. Okay, so al-urf, or the common understanding of the society is considered. That which is not judged by the religion is judged by the custom of the people. There are a lot of things that the religion considers the customs of the people as a standard. Okay, so our religion does not ignore the custom of the people. For example, if for example the religion does not, the religion does not determine the amount of the dowry, for example. Does the religion anywhere? There is nowhere in the religion that says you have to give this amount of money as a dowry, to the bride. There's nowhere that it says that. But if there is no limit, or the religion did not determine that, how is that going to be determined? According to the custom of the people. So, for example, if a particular lady at this particular age, her first marriage, everyone in her family is received the dowry of this much money, then she might as well be entitled to the same amount of money. Why would she get less? All right, for example. Then that's going to be determined according to the custom of the tradition of the family, or the tradition of the society, because it is not determined by the religion. The same thing applies here. If there is, for example, a color that's okay for people to see, then it will be okay to use this color, to dye your hair with this color, as long as you're not going to be viewed as a weird person or an insane person. If the person who does this practice is viewed as such, then you should not be doing that. All right, because you should not be expose yourself to criticism and be viewed as a person who is not actually mature or not stable, mentally stable, or so on and so forth. Okay. Any questions? Yes.
So I guess this kind of goes into the question of urf, or like the societal standard.
Yeah.
So what if you, like, let's say in America, it's societally normal to do one thing. So like, it's societally normal to dye your hair this color, whatever color, for example. But you go to another land and the urf is different. Should you change the way you do things, or should you change the way you dye your hair based on the culture of the place? So just like for clothing, for example, I wear a certain kind of clothing here. When I go to another place, should I wear a different kind of clothing there?
Okay, so based on what you're mentioning, there's always a standard, a universal standard that a lot of people agree on. For example, the clothes. For example, the suit and the tie. For example, that's you're not actually following. If you wear a suit and a tie, for example, you're not associating yourself with any culture. Can I tell where you're coming from if you're wearing a suit and a tie?
No.
Because it became a universal standard. For example, the same thing. If you like to wear anything, like for example, like the pants or shirt, all these things are universal standards. Unless you do something that is viewed by the culture as something abnormal or something weird, and that's particular thing that is determined according to societal standards. It could be weird in one society, and may not be weird in another society. I think that's what you're referring to. It may not be weird in another society, but it's still, if it's not weird in one society, then in this case you're associating yourself also with some ethnic group or some particular societal group. You should not be associating yourself with this societal group because you don't know, what's their standard, what's their values, you know what I mean? Even if it's not viewed as a weird thing in this particular society, but they may be representing some values that you don't agree with, or some morals that you do not agree with. Understand? So you always have to be careful before you assume. If the purpose of dyeing the hair that you want to be like them, and even if you don't want to be like them, but dyeing the hair would make you be like them, you have to consider this part. Yes. A lot of people are interested in dyeing their hair here. So, go ahead.
How we treat the people that they are like belong to the rainbow color?
How to treat them?
How to treat them?
How to deal with them?
How to deal with them? Especially if they are at work and they are nice to you.
Well, just like normal professional dealing. The person is at work. There's no need to be anything different with him,
But how do you show them? This is not okay.
You don't have to do that. You don't have to encounter their behavior in that way. As long as, for example, someone coming to you as Muslims or as a professional, for example, it doesn't matter that person his orientation is. It doesn't matter what he's coming to your office for a service, for example, for interpretation, for example, then he's gonna get the service, no matter what he believes in, no matter what his orientation. It doesn't matter. The problem is not the problem in this. The problem is not in this particular thing. The problem if for example, this is what we encountered here. If a person, for example, is a transgender, and he was a man and he became a woman, and then he's coming to the masjid to pray in the women area, for example. Or to the nationwide problem with the bathrooms. That's how the transgender would know to use the bathroom. So that's why they have the bathrooms, and most of them are unisex bathrooms. So that's the problem. Now that's the talk. But the other services are okay. Yeah? You don't have to show disagreement. You don't have to show any opposition. It's just the service is done regardless of his gender. It doesn't matter. Unless there's a chance that you may have a friendly talk with them outside the scope of work. But as long as it's 100% professional, he's gonna get his service, or she's gonna get her service, no matter what the orientation is. So, yes.
As Muslims, is it okay to be affiliated with a political party like Democratic or Republican, or is it best to be an independent? Because each party represents, as we were talking about, right, certain things. So.
Okay, so there was a long discussion about this in the fiqh committee here in America, that it is okay to be part of the political party, whatever the party is, as long as the party doesn't hold values or opposing the person's personal freedom of choosing his faith or his values. Like for example, the Democratic Party, there's nowhere in the Democratic Party that will prevent a person from becoming a Muslim or practicing the same thing in the Republican. Or at least these are the guidelines, the apparent guidelines of the party. There may be things inside the party that will actually be a little bit of prejudice, but that's not the policy of the party. So it's okay to be part of it, to engage in this political life. They do not restrict that. There are some tiny restrictions within this practice, but overall there is permissibility in being engaged, unless the party is dedicated to something that's actually immoral or something that is actually clearly, openly to be an anti-religion party or anti something that's against a value or a moral of our beliefs or our faith. Okay. But if it's a party like Democratic or Republican, it's okay to be part of it. Actually, there's an encouragement recently to be part of the political life here. Any questions I hope you got so the dyeing the hair is okay. Dyeing the hair is okay. The controversy over using the black color to dye the hair. Some scholars say the Prophet said تجنب السواد, avoid dyeing the hair with black color. Some scholars say it is only disliked, but you can still do it. Some scholars say it is prohibited. But any other color is okay as long as it's not going to put you under criticism because of this such a weak practice. And that's determined according to societal standards. Yes, ma'am.
So there are certain actions that are encouraged to be done in the morning and in the evening. I was just wondering where the definition for like the morning and the evening. So like I know it's encouraged to recite Surah Yasin in the morning. At what point is the morning, is it not the morning? So is it like after Dhuhr, is it after Asr, is it, because I've heard some people say that you can recite, like if you wanted to do that specific good deed, you can do it until Asr time, or you can do it, or if it's for the night, you can do it until the time of Fajr.
So is your question about what is the morning time?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
So the morning is the time between Fajr and until before Dhuhr. That's the morning.
I heard one person say that was before Asr one time.
Well, the forenoon time, or not the forenoon, the time of the Duha is the morning time. And then after this, it's actually the noon time. It's not. When the sun reaches the zenith, that's not the morning anymore. It's if you look at it's the PM. So that's it's still the daylight, but it's still not. When you pass the time zone of Duha, then that's not morning anymore. But still, if you miss anything, for example, if you miss the Adhkar, if you want to say the Adhkar in the morning, and that's what your question is, then you can say it, of course, after Dhuhr. It's nothing that will make you. What if a person woke up, and I know a lot of people do that, they woke up at Dhuhr time. Can he say the Adhkar? Yes, he can. He can. It's not like it's too late to say it. He can say this. Okay, the Adhkar is meant to be before sunrise, but now it's at Dhuhr time, and he wants to say it. He can say it. It's not a big deal. So, but the time of the day is from between Fajr and Maghrib. This is the day. The day. The night is between Maghrib and Fajr. The morning time is usually until Dhuhr. That's why you cannot pray Duha anymore after Dhuhr, because it's the time is gone. Unless you haven't prayed Fajr, then you have to pray it anyways when you remember. Right. The second question is the ruling of wearing the wedding band, the wedding band, which I'm wearing right now. Of course, because the question is that because the origin of it, it's not an Islamic origin to wear a wedding band. Right. Again, it goes to the same concept of, and first and foremost, you have to look. Of course, gold is haram for men, wedding band or not wedding band. Gold is haram for men all the way. Men are not supposed to wear anything of the jewelry except a silver ring. A silver ring. That's for men. Women are allowed to wear all kinds of jewelry. Of course, not everyone is, they're not supposed to show that to everyone, only to their family, but they are allowed to wear gold and any other jewelry necklaces, bracelets, and any other form of adornment, but not men. Like if the wedding band, if that's, I'm not sure of the gender of the person who asked the question. I didn't catch that. But if it's a man, then the wedding band, it's okay because it's considered a ring. It's a ring. As long as you wear it as a ring, it is not gold, then it's okay. About the origin of it, and again, it became now a universal thing. It does not represent an ethnic group, it does not represent a religion. It just became, you wear it because you want to, for example, to label yourself as a married person, or engaged. If it's in the right hand, that's engagement. If it's in the left hand, it's marriage. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this as long as it's not gold for men. If it's for women, it can be gold or any other thing. So, but the wedding band is okay. Some people do not wear it. I mean, it's not like you have to, but if you opt to wear it, it's okay. Jonathan.
Question.
Yes.
Is there any reasoning behind it in terms of scientific, or is this the element where, there are things that, the Prophet ﷺ tells us and we will just obey?
About the gold?
The gold, why man wasn't wearing, is it because at that time where, gold is usually related to rich people and
what appeared what was apparent to the scholars is that it gives the soul some sort of arrogance or overpride, and that's not good for men. But men are not inclined to wear that, but women are inclined. Women are inclined to the zina, adornment. Allah says, "أَوْمَنْ يُنَشَّأُ فِي الْحِلْيَةِ وَهُوَ فِي الْخِصَامِ غَيْرُ مُبِينٍ." Allah is telling that the women, since their childhood, are grown to wear this, are accustomed to wear this adornment, but men are not like this. So men, that gives them some sort of arrogance or feelings that are not supposed to be in the heart of the believer if they wear it. That's what was apparent to the scholar. And if it's not this, then it's the command of the Prophet ﷺ. We're not supposed to wear it for men, and the same thing goes for silk, unless it is for treatment. Unless it's for treatment, like if you're gonna get a golden tooth, something, because sometimes gold is not, a lot of people are sensitive to any material except gold and silver. So if you want to get a golden tooth, not to show pride, or just this is the only thing that your body accepts, or something, any thing in your knees or anything like this can be gold. One of the companions, his nose, he lost his nose, they put him a golden nose. So that because of your body do not accept anything like gold, except gold, then that's okay. The same thing with the silk. Silk is haram for men also, for the same purpose. Unless you have a skin disease or a rash that your skin cannot touch any fabric except silk, then there will be occasion.
So the reason I ask that is because is most of the scholars who lived back then, most of them, they didn't, like us here, we live with non-Muslims. A lot of people who we work with interact with non-Muslims, and they, alhamdulillah, they're learning the religion now, Islam and stuff. And they ask questions like, why don't we guys eat pork and stuff like that? And straight answer is like our Prophet ﷺ tells us. But sometimes if we have a reasoning behind it, okay, we don't do this because scientifically it's something like this, or yes, it has been seen that this does that. That's why I asked about gold.
There could be a scientific thing behind not eating pork. I think there is behind not eating pork because they found out there is some unhygienic. The way that the pork was eating is different than the way, or the digestive system of the pork different than that of the cows. And so there is, but not everything has this reason behind it. Not everything. Sometimes the reasons are apparent and can be easily found, and sometimes are not. What's apparent about the gold is it gives the man. It gives the person. If a man wears a necklace and golds and rings and bracelet, often the people that I'm dealt with and having this kind of behavior are really very arrogant people on a personal level, for example. But that may not make sense to if you want to convince people with that, because it makes you arrogant. He may say, okay, well, I can wear gold, I'm not going to be arrogant. So it may not make sense to people, for example. Sometimes we just have to take the order of the Prophet ﷺ as is, and sometimes there could be a reason behind it. If we know the reason, we can tell because of such and such. If not, then It has to do with, had a lot to do with, faithfully following the order of the Prophet. Yes. Oh, go ahead.
Your point about arrogance, the association of arrogance with wearing gold.
Yeah.
I mean, you have also men wearing watches that are Rolex watch that are $10,000. I mean, that's, so in that case, should you not wear such type of expensive, it's not gold, but it's 10,000. I mean, you can get a lot of arrogance. with
Yes,
that.
you can. And there are, I mean, not just the gold, the watch, any clothes, any coat,
Right.
cars, will make you
So
get the
where is the
feeling of
balance?
arrogance.
Like,
But I can't tell you that wearing this coat is haram or wearing this. But if you become an arrogant, then I can tell you this arrogance is haram. But we can't tell you this particular thing is haram because the Prophet didn't say. So anything, for example, so there is a general, for example, there is a general verse in the Quran says, وَلَا تَمْشِ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرْحًا إِنَّكَ لَن تَخْرِقَ الْأَرْضَ وَلَن تَبْلُغَ الْجِبَالَ. Do not walk excessively arrogant or excessively happy on the earth because you will not be as high or as tall as the mountains, nor will you be able to break through the earth. So you're very tiny, like do not give yourself more than your actual size. So that applies to anything. If you wear gold or not wearing gold. Some people are very arrogant, although they do not own anything. They're very poor, and you wonder why they're arrogant. And that's the worst thing. He doesn't have anything at all, and he's still arrogant. Some people are arrogant because of what you say, because of a watch, because of a car, because of that. And this is, of course, haram to be arrogant. It's haram to be arrogant, period. An atom weight of arrogance is haram. There's a hadith saying that no one enters the Jannah and has in his heart an atom weight of arrogance. But I can't tell you that this car is haram. Right, you know what I mean? I can't tell you that this coat is haram. But I'll tell you, for example, that the ni'mah or the blessing could be actually a punishment from Allah. Because if you were given this blessing to make you arrogant, then it's not blessing anymore. You know what I mean? But if you are given this blessing, for example, if you are given this, for example, this car, for example, this car, but you use it, you're not arrogant, you're driving it, and you use it, for example, for good things, for helping other people, for families and stuff, and you're not arrogant, then of course it's okay to have it. It's okay to have it if it doesn't make you arrogant. But it's not okay to wear gold even if it doesn't make you arrogant. You understand? So you say, okay, I'm going to wear gold, but I'm not going to be arrogant. I'm going to try not to be arrogant. Well, it's still not okay. It's still not okay. Because gold in itself is haram. You understand? Gold in itself is haram. But if you ride in a car, if you become an arrogant, that's not good. But if you ride in a car without being arrogant, then you can't tell you the car is haram, of course. I can't tell you that because the Prophet ﷺ did not say that. But we can say that anything that will lead to arrogance in itself is a very bad quality, or a very bad thing to have in the heart of any believer, no matter what the cause of it. Yes.
So some of our smartwatches some of our smartwatches have like gold in them for like their functioning. Would that make it haram to wear those smartwatches or those?
If you can avoid not having any gold in them, that would be okay. If you can avoid that. If there's a small tiny amount of gold in it, it may be okay, but it's better to avoid it. So. Some scholars did not allow gold unless again it's for welding metals, for example. If your cup broken, you weld it with gold, or you need a teeth, or if you need anything like a medical device. If it's something so tiny, or golden plating gold. Yeah, it's disliked, but if it's a very tiny amount and it's not for actually very obvious, then some scholars may allow it, but it's still disliked. And that's again, so this is for men. Wearing gold is only haram for men, but drinking from gold and silver utensils is haram for both genders. You cannot drink from gold and silver utensils. That goes for both men and women. Gold and silver utensils or cups is haram for both men and women. But wearing gold is haram for men only. Okay.
And Brother Hassan, when you say cups, you mean silverware, plates?
No, so the actual silver. The actual...
Yeah, you said cups.
And yeah, the cups and the utensils, yes, the containers.
Yeah, utensils.
Containers.
Yes.
Okay, so are we done with this wedding band?
Yeah, the only thing I wonder, if you don't mind,
Sure.
I'm hesitant with the wedding band,
Hmm.
because in the Prophet's time, obviously, they have hands and fingers, they give dowry, they give jewelry,
Hmm.
but they didn't do this custom of
Yes.
exchanging matrimonial
Yes.
bands,
Hmm.
where they could have.
Yes.
However,
could
the
have.
Prophet did not do that.
Hmm.
So that kind of makes me hesitant, you know, that
So
it's
that's
not.
actually the reason, the very same reason why the question was asked.
Hmm,
Because the origin did not come from the Islamic tradition. The origin of this
the
word.
origin, right.
Yeah, the origin of it. But the answer that was given by the Fatwa Committee
Mhm.
is that it became now a universal tradition, universal practice. It doesn't link you to any religion. It does not link you, associate you with any culture.
Hmm.
It is not. If you're still hesitant, by all means, you can just skip it.
Because it's just.
Yeah, it's just something that's very secondary. It's not something that is important. But if the person is in doubts about if this is haram because it came from this particular source, then the answer is that now it's becoming a universal practice, a universal tradition in marriage life. It is not linked to any culture now anymore. Like wearing the suit and the tie, again, the same thing.
Yeah.
Wearing the suit and the tie, it's not linked, although the origin of it is not from Islam, but now wearing this particular outfit does not link you to any culture anymore.
I see.
Okay. But you can avoid it then if you want, if you don't feel comfortable, of course. Also, if you wear it thinking that it will actually have any virtue, then it will become haram. For example, if you wear the wedding band thinking that this wedding band will have an impact of forever lasting of your marriage because of this band, then that will make it haram because that doesn't have any impact on the length or the type of a relationship you have. It doesn't. Okay. Another question is using the cell phone to tape the Jum'ah prayer or to take pictures while in the Jum'ah khutbah or to take down notes of the Jum'ah khutbah. Well, if you're not the person assigned by the Imam, then you should not. Because using anything of these things during the khutbah will be considered level or disorderly behavior of the Jum'ah khutbah. Anything of these things, anything. You're not supposed to give the salam when you come into the Jum'ah prayer, although salam is a must. But during the Jum'ah is not. You're not supposed to respond to the salam if someone comes and says salam alaikum, don't respond to him in your Jum'ah khutbah. If you find people speaking in the Jum'ah khutbah, you should not tell them, please be quiet. Don't tell them, don't leave them alone in the Jum'ah khutbah. The Jum'ah khutbah has rules that are very specific and very strict. If you want to take pictures of the people sitting in the masjid, tape the khutbah, do that, you will have to figure it out. First and foremost, if the masjid has its own recording, and for example, we broadcast that, and that's what we do. Just go ahead. There is no need for you to tape anymore. You go to our Facebook page and you'll find or the YouTube channel, you'll find the khutbahs there. Then you don't need to tape on your own. If you are the person assigned by the Imam, that can assign a person. He's a technical, the technology person, for example, and in this case, he's assigned. He's given the task to do that, and he may be exempt from this ruling. But you on your own to take down notes or to use your phone to tape or to take pictures, that is not permissible in the Jum'ah. That is not permissible. It will be considered level. Masjid Hassan, the people there used to sit on a place, the masjid was not carpeted, there was small rocks and pebbles on the ground. If you play with them like you play with your keychain, it is not permissible. It may actually end up losing your reward of the Jum'ah. Some scholars even say drinking water during Jum'ah khutbah is not permissible. The Jum'ah has very strict rules. Jum'ah prayer has very strict rules. If someone comes and asks for sadaqah during Jum'ah khutbah, you're not supposed to give them anything. Okay, so the khutbah has strict rules. If you are not the person assigned by the Imam to tape the khutbah, then you should not be taping it or record it. or take down notes. This is just applies to the Jum'ah. It doesn't apply to any other gathering, only to the Jum'ah.
Understand.
Yes.
So usually, like, when someone gives you salam during Jummah, I think it's usually out of ignorance. They just don't know any better. Usually, I think. So they come up and give you this great big salam, and they want to, like, say hi to you, and you shouldn't return the salam. You shouldn't gesture even, but you don't want to be rude.
Yes.
So
It
how
is a
can-
problem. Yes, it is a problem.
Can you give it? Is it okay to give a big smile and just?
I mean, you can, but well, sometimes a person may someone stretch his hand and they say salam, and you find yourself stuck shaking his hand. If that happens to you, I would recommend that after the prayer, tell him what you did was wrong, and I didn't want to, decline shaking your hand, but I did it just because, I didn't want you to feel bad. But please, next time, do not do that when it comes to the Jum'ah, because it's just taking advantage of educating him or her. Yes.
At what point should you not respond to a salam? So like, let's say you're in the masjid parking lot and you're late and you know the khutbah is going on. If you're outside and you see somebody, should you say salam then, or would it still be like you shouldn't do it?
You haven't come to the masjid yet?
You're not inside the masjid, but like you're in the parking lot.
I mean, no, it's okay. The parking lot. If you come to the masjid and come down and sit now in the masjid where the imam is giving the khutbah, unless the people are sitting in the parking lot listening to the khutbah. Sometimes the masajid are, especially in the Jum'ah, they have the parking lot as part of the masjid. People sit. If you are sitting in the parking lot listening to the khutbah, then in this case that will be considered the masjid. But if you just still park it and come into the masjid, you haven't gotten to the prayer area yet, then if you haven't gotten to the prayer area, then it's okay to talk like this, because you haven't gotten. As long as you come to the place where the people are sitting down listening to the khutbah. So this is the prayer area. That could be the parking lot in some situations, but in our situation here, this particular room. The one question about for the woman during her menstruation period, if it's okay for her to read the Quran. According to some of the scholars, yes, it's okay to read the Quran from her memory or from any device that's not a Muslim, from the phone or iPad or any electronic device. That's according to Shaykh Islam and also according to the Imam Malik. And some other scholars says she can't because they have her as the same category of the person who is in major impurity, al-junub. But this analogy is not accurate because the person who is in major impurity doesn't last for long. As long as he takes a shower, he's gone. I mean, he can come back and read Quran. But the woman during her menstruation will take at least 6 and 7 days. She cannot take that long without reading the Quran if she wants to. So she can read the Quran either from her memory or from the Mus'haf. That's not actually the physical copy of the Mus'haf. It could be from a phone, or it could be from a tablet, or from something that is actually not actually the Mus'haf, and she can read from it. That's according to the Taymiyyah and Imam Malik.
How about the Mus'haf that has the both translation of English and Arabic? Is this considered Quran?
A lot of scholars do not consider this Quran too, but try to not have her touch the Arabic page of the Quran. One question about the abandoning one of the person or a person's husband abandoned her for a long time. Would that be considered divorce? Just by moving away for a long time and not being together for a long time. That's not considered divorce. The divorce will not be divorce. The ending of the relationship can only happen through divorce, not by abandonment. It must be divorce from the man's side or khulal from the woman's side, or annulment by the judge. So that's how the marriage relationship ends. Not by just abandonment, not by just he left and he lived somewhere else, then she's divorced. No, as long as there is no divorce coming from the husband, or khula. Khula is the divorce when it comes from the woman's side, if she's the one who initiated the divorce. Or the judge annul the marriage because the case was risen to the judge and the judge ruled divorce. We're talking here about the Muslim judge. In this case, this is how the marriage is. The marriage ends. If there is a long-term desert, for example, if he left her for a long time and there is no way that the reconciliation failed, then in this case you can initiate the divorce. But the abandonment in itself would not end the marriage, if that's the question. Unless the situation, for example, if she doesn't know where he is, if he's considered lost. If he, for example, went to war, for example, and didn't come back, his death was not confirmed, or he went somewhere and didn't come back, no news about him, then in this case the judge will give an amount of time. If he doesn't come back with this particular amount of time, then she will be divorced. Then that's divorce coming from the judge. Okay. So anyways, the abandonment does not end marriage. Long-time abandonment does not end marriage. The marriage ends either by divorce from the husband, or khula from the wife, or annulment by the judge.
So, Sheikh,
Yes.
so just some clarification. When you say khula initiation from the woman, does it mean that the woman can give divorce to the husband?
Not give divorce. If the woman wants divorce, she should ask the husband to divorce. If the husband refuses to divorce, then the woman may initiate the khula. In this case, she asked divorce for herself. She initiated divorce on her own. In this case, if it's not the husband's fault, then if the divorce happened because of her initiation, then she's entitled to, or she's obliged to return all the gifts or the dowry that he has given her, if it was proven to be not his fault. For example, if a man is doing all his duties, and then just a woman doesn't like to be with him, and she asked him for divorce, and he said, "No, I'm not divorcing. There's no reason for me to divorce you," for example. Then in this case, can she divorce herself? She can do the khula, but in this case, she will have to return all the gifts and the dowry back to him if she initiated the divorce by herself. If she raises her concern to the judge, and the judge found out that the man, for example, is at fault, and the man is abusing her, holding her, and he doesn't want to let her go, then the judge may make the divorce. In this case, it's not khula, it's a divorce by the judge. And she doesn't have to return anything in this case. The next question is about using the gelatin. I think this has been long asked question in the past. The gelatin and its ruling, as we mentioned before, the gelatin, there is no doubt that the gelatin, if it comes from a plant or a vegetarian source, it's okay to use it. The talk now, if it comes from an animal that is not slaughtered according to the Sharia, for example, halal slaughtering, or if it comes from pork. The general ruling in this is not the prohibition. Of course, you should not use the gelatin if it comes from pork, or if it comes from what? Cows, or that has not been slaughtered, halal dhabiha. Unless the gelatin has been transformed completely to a different form, and this is called in the Arabic language, in the fiqh language, istihala. Istihala meaning changing of the chemical composition of something. Something was something, and then it became completely something else because of the chemical process. This is called istihala. That could turn something haram to halal, or it could turn something halal to haram. Something changed, became completely something else. It doesn't matter where it comes from, it became just something else. If that happened, then you can use the gelatin even if it comes from pork, because it has been completely changed. The question now between the scholars, whether if you know that this has been completely transformed, there's no remainder of it. So that's why they say if it's not from halal dhabiha, then don't use it. Some other scholars would answer this and say, well, I don't have to carry a microscope with me in my pocket. If Every time I see a piece of candy, I put it under my microscope to see if there's any remainder of the pork. It has been changed, I don't have to investigate that. And this is one approach of some of the scholars. Not everything you have to put it under monitoring like this, although also you live your life tempted or being afflicted with the disease of whispers. You'll be doubting everything around you. If the gelatin has been processed chemically, 100% processed, if this process enough to change it completely, what appears to be it is enough because it's a piece of candy now, it doesn't appear to have any pork in it. So it's enough for them, for some people. Some people say, well, we're not sure, it's better to avoid it if it's not kosher gelatin. That's basically the discussion between the schools. But the changing of the chemical composition makes something halal haram 100% if it's done 100% changing. Okay? I'll give you an example. Maybe this is not a good, nasty example. For example, if in the park, we all know that the dust and the mud, not the mud, the dust and the soil is pure. The soil is what? Pure. The Prophet is clear that the soil is pure. The earth has been made a masjid and its soil is pure. That's why you can make tayammum. But what if a dog come and then did it on the soil? Then this particular area is becoming filthy or impure for this particular time. Now the days go by and the sun is rising, and this that thing that the dog just did dissolved in the soil. Will the soil become pure again or remain impure forever? That becomes soil again, and the soil will become pure again. That will be pure again, although 2 days or 3 days ago were not pure. But now a week later it became pure again because the chemical composition has completely changed. And then there was a prophet, the hadith of Imam, said the dogs were coming back and forth in the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ, urinating. And we were not actually clean none of that because by the rain and sunshine and that changes that, makes it dissolve. So that's an example of changing in the chemical composition. Something could be something and then it turned to be something else completely because of the change in this chemical composition it becomes halal. And vice versa, something could be halal because of the changing of the chemical composition it becomes haram. Like if you have some grapes, right? And if you leave it out there in the air for a few days, well, it's going to become what?
Fermented.
Yes, and then it's going to be intoxicating, right? Can you say, well, this used to be grape, it was halal. Was it halal? Yeah, it was halal. But because of the changing of the chemical composition, it makes it what? Would you care about the source then? You don't care about the source. Because the changing of the chemical composition made it haram now. Okay, the same thing applies. Something could be haram because of the change of the chemical composition be haram. The question now here, whether this changing happened 100% or not. That about the gelatin here. Some scholars say, some big scholars here in the US say yes, well I don't have to. Some scholars they follow this approach. I don't have to check. I don't have to get a microscope and put the piece of candy on the microscope. Look at this. This is 100% change. I can eat this gel. No, it just has gone through some chemical process. Alhamdulillah, it's halal. I'm gonna eat it. The same thing applies with the meat here. The meat, the biha, can we eat the meat, red meat? Can we eat the red meat that sells in the supermarket? Well, the general rule is the food of the people of the book is halal for us to eat. Okay, do they kill the animals? Well, the federal law prohibits killing the animal before taking the head off. That's the federal law. They stun the animal, but not kill it. Okay, that's because some animals may die because of sometimes some slaughterhouses. Some animals may die before taking the heads off because of how crowded it is. Then some scholars say it's better to avoid it. Or some other scholars say, no, we don't have to investigate. But the food of the people of the book is halal, means it's halal. Okay? They go with the general rule. The general rule says whatever The exceptions, do not make the exception unless it's based on something that comes to your attention directly. You do not have to go after it and investigate it, unless it comes to your attention directly. Okay? So for example, the Umar says in a group, and he was traveling with people in the desert with some of the companions, and then they passed by a well that has some water, a well of water. So they asked the man, the owner of the well, if the animals come, so they wanted to make this water, to use this water for drinking and for wudu. So they asked the owner of the well, do the animal come and pee in this water? They just asked this question, and what did Omar say? He was with them. He said, please don't answer. We gotta use it. Don't answer us. Now that's water, the origin of the water that it is, pure, so we gotta use it, don't tell us what's happening. We don't want to know the past of the water. We're gonna just go forward and use it. So based on that, they said, okay, we go with the original rule. That's not the approach of all the scholars. Again, I'm just going to give you an approach of some of the scholars. They do not investigate unless something comes directly to their attention. The general rule is that changing in the chemical composition makes it halal, unless you know for sure that something makes a reason why you should not consume it. Some other scholars say, because we're not sure if this has been changed completely, then it's better to avoid any gelatin that comes from any source other than the halal slaughtered cows, or if it's other than vegetarian gelatin. Yes, ma'am.
So I want to circle back to my question about political party.
Okay,
Sorry.
no problem.
So my question was, is it, as Muslims, is it best for us to be affiliated as an independent versus Republican or Democratic? And the reason why I'm asking, because within the party itself, in general, there are different variations of opinion by candidates. So when you go and vote, you're voting for very specific candidates, and you can pick either as a Republican, Democratic, or whatever candidate. And each one may represent different, have different opinions on certain matters, or represent different things. So that's the reason why I was asking the question, because now if you're affiliated or you're Democratic, you're most likely always doing them regardless of the candidate. But there may be a better candidate in the Republican side or independent. So in terms of affiliation, now I'm just speaking as just an individual voter. I'm not speaking about someone maybe who has political ambition. I mean, I understand if you have political ambition, it might be better to be part of a party if you want to make a change in Congress, for example, right? But that's a different, I'm just saying as an individual going out to vote, in my town or whatever it is, selectman or whoever it is that I'm voting for on a local level, or congressman. I mean, is it better to be, as Muslim, better to be as an independent, or versus a Republican or Democrat? That was the reason why I was asking the question.
Well, what you described to me, I think that being independent is better if you're not actually having a political ambition, what you say. If you're only a voter, you want to vote for whoever is best for you. If you are a person who wants to pursue a political career, I guess in this being part of the political party would be better for you.
But the FIC Council that you referenced didn't distinguish the difference and didn't address that.
Well, I have to go back and check what they said about. But I remember there was a whole thing, an article saying it's okay to be part of a political party, but they didn't make a comparison whether being independent is better or being part of the party is better. I don't recall they did this comparison. But the talk was about it's okay to be part of a party, as long as the values of the party do not go against your religion, your faith beliefs.
Right. I mean, but there are many evidence of these things that are in both parties that are not necessarily in compliance with the religion.
It doesn't have to be compliance.
So there are portions of it that are.
It doesn't go against the beliefs. It doesn't have to be 100%. It doesn't have to be compliance as long as it's not contradicting it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that being part of it to pursue a political career. But they didn't make. I'm not
take
sure
for
they have a
example
comparison.
abortion. So take for example abortion, right?
What?
Abortion, like the right to have abortion versus. I mean, there's certain parties that are against or not against. So
Yes.
that's one that is in contradiction to
Yes.
our religion.
Yes.
So as a Muslim, are we, to me, it makes more sense to be not to be affiliated, or Republican or Democratic, because you have very specific things that are definitely controversial. And I don't know, I
Okay,
feel
well,
it's-
if we, the politics is a very, it's an ocean to talk about. I've transferred to you the permissibility of being part of a political party as long as the value, the general value of the party, or the party you're standing for, is not against you in your personal beliefs. For example, okay? So details about this, I'm not very familiar with the details that they mentioned. Whether if you are independent, a voter, better to be independent or not. From what you're saying, I think from what the scenario that you say, because you have the freedom to choose or to vote for any candidate if you are independent, versus if you are a Democrat, you have to vote for Democrats, right?
But you don't have to, you can cross the border.
But in the primary, you have to.
Right.
In the primary, you have to vote for Democrat, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, based on that, I think being independent is better, but I can't tell you this is the fatwa of this quote, because I didn't read that. I read the permissibility of being part of a political party, being part of a political life here. It's okay. It's okay to be part of a political life, to be part of it. Do not like recommend isolating yourself. Or not every Muslim have to be part of it. Some Muslims have political orientation. They are, like to be politically active. It's okay, and we need that.
Right.
And we need that. Okay, now we'll take one last question, inshallah. And this one last question is about delivery, food delivery. If it's okay to work to deliver food, and this food may contain pork or wine. That really depends on a number of factors. If you're working for a restaurant, for example, and you deliver food, the restaurant, the main business of the restaurant, not only for pork or wine, the main business is just for food. It could be ending up, for example, delivering one delivery or one order that has some pork or wine, but this is not the business, the main business. So some scholars say if you know, for example, this is a wine store, do not work for it in the first place. Or a place that sells only pork, do not work for it in the first place. If it has one item or two items in the menu that has pork, and you ended up delivering this, but this is only one order or two orders, for example, that you do, and you do a lot of orders a day, then they say it's okay. Especially if you're living in a time that it's very hard to find a job. Okay? But if you can't find a job that doesn't have any of these doubts, then it's better to opt and go for the other job. Okay. So if you ended up, for example, delivering food that has pork, and some other scholars say do not even look at what you have in your delivery box. As long as you're not delivering anything illegal, for example. They don't give you drugs to traffic drugs or something. Okay. So do not look at the box. It said you're working for a store, that's a legitimate store. Do not look at the delivery, just go and deliver the order and come back. Because the general rule is that you deliver food, and that's halal. Some of the food items may be haram, but that's not the basic business of the store or the restaurant. Then they say it's okay. Well, if you still do not feel comfortable about it, they have two options. Either to wait and then you find a job that doesn't have this, or halal restaurant that doesn't sell pork at all, or a different job that doesn't include delivering any of these food items, or to figure out, for example, you made 10 deliveries a day. One of them, for example, was pork, or two of them was pork. Then you estimate the number of the deliveries, and you give them a Halaqa, for example, from your salary. That's another option. But do not quit your job unless you have something else. Do not quit your job unless you have something else. Okay? Because we're living in a time that, now it's okay. Now also there's one thing that I need to talk about. Now, alhamdulillah, I don't believe anyone has an excuse now. Be careful of, and the Prophet ﷺ said, "La tajuzu sadaqa li ghaniyin wa la dhi marratin sawi." The sadaqah should not be given to anyone who is rich or anyone who is capable to work. Now, we live in a time that most people, there are job opportunities all over. It's a record number of job opening now that we have. choose not to work unless he's incapable, physically incapable. That's a different story. So in this case, for example, it would be better to opt for something else if you can find something else. But do not quit your job until you find something else. Any questions? Yes.
What is the opinion of Islam about the people that they come from different countries as a refugee, and when they come here, they apply for social security and they do not have any disability, and they take the social security from the government and they don't work?
Okay. Well, so lying is not permissible in Islam in any case. Lying to the Muslims or non-Muslims is not permissible. If this is something that the law offers and you don't have to lie in your application, then you can have that because it's something is offered to you in a legitimate way. For example, you are coming here. For example, you got to receive this amount of money until you find a job. Then as soon as you find a job, it's okay to have this amount of money, for example. And then as soon as you have the job, then in this case you should faithfully report of the change of your condition and you stop receiving these benefits. But it's haram to have an identity theft or to change your name or to say that it's haram to lie. It's the believer's life should be an upright. Yeah, the most important thing and most important value of the believer is truthfulness. The most important value. You be upright in all your affairs. You'll live your life, alhamdulillah, in a good way. If something the law offers without you having to lie, okay, then it's okay. If you are fired from your job and you're entitled to some unemployment, you're entitled to unemployment. That's something the law offers, for example. Then you can have that until you find a job. That's fine. But don't apply for unemployment and you are working under the table. This is lying. Yes, you have a question.
Should be an easy question.
Sure.
So the male's awra is from the belly button to the knees. Is there who is allowed to see that? Like, because like a lot of guys wear shorts nowadays. Is that even halal, to play soccer or anything like that, or should they just not show their knees and their belly buttons to anybody? So who is it? I don't know, because I know with women there's a certain part of the awra that they can't show to general people, but there's part that they can show to their family and their wives. Is there something like that with the men as well, or is it just shouldn't show it to anybody?
So the awra of men between the belly button and the knees. This is true. It depends also on the prayer. If they're praying, then according to many of the scholars, the shoulders should be covered. If it's not praying, if the person is praying, you're mentioning swimming or
soccer,
or playing soccer, there's no restriction. You can, as long as they cover their awra, there's not a problem with. Because if the person is swimming, this is the swimming outfit. He's not actually doing something strange. As long as he's covering his awra, he's wearing a short until his knees. Swimming suit, and that's most likely the summer shorts are until even in Muslims and non-Muslims they wear that for men. I mean. So this is okay. As long as it's covering the awra, this is okay. Or
so if a guy.
same thing for playing soccer. If this is also, I believe it's an informal soccer. It's okay, but it's not good. It's not okay in the formal soccer. If you take your shirt off in a formal soccer game, you will be booked, by the way. So, but this is not. If it's informal soccer and you just opt to play without the shirt, it's not. It's okay. It's not something that is considered immoral or anything like this.
But if you're a Muslim and you have to cover your awra and you're playing soccer, should you try to wear tights that cover your knees, or should you try to wear 3/4 shorts that cover your knees, or should you just wear shorts? And if you're walking around down the street or you're in Church Street or something like that, is it okay to wear shorts, or should you wear something that covers your knees?
It depends on where you are. For example, if you are out there in the camp, for example, like we were in camping, it's okay to wear shorts in that. Because the environment will accept that, for example. But if you go in a formal gathering or in a gathering, for example, in a place, again, it has a lot to do with the protocols of the place where you're at, for example. You understand? Okay, so although it's, for example, it's okay, the awrah is between the belly button and the knees, but I don't imagine someone coming to the masjid with a short only. You know what I mean? Without his top, his just not having anything on the top. Although this is not awrah, but this is not okay. I mean, this is not proper dressing for the. They will not let you walk like this in the court, definitely. For example, they will not let you walk like this in the doctor's office. There are some places that say shirts are required, and then you see the sign, for example, because that's. So you have to consider that. If you are on the beach and you're covering your awrah only, and then that's okay. If you're on an informal soccer game, and sometimes to differentiate because some teams take their shirt off, and some teams wearing shirts, and some teams take the shirt off, and it could be okay in this situation. But if you're in a situation where most people are dressed up properly, then it will be getting into the zone of, criticism or, So the believer just has to be, figure out what's the surroundings. You're not basically isolating yourself away from your surroundings. You have to watch out what's around you. So, okay, yes,
So people that sometimes you see homeless people on the exits of highways, and there's signs up, and is it okay to give money, sadaqah, or money just to them, or support that idea, or no?
Why I can't tell you this.
You don't know what they're going to do with the money, right?
I can't tell you it's not okay.
Yeah.
I can't tell you it's not okay to give, but I will tell you I will not give.
Okay.
I'm telling you I will not give, but I cannot tell you it's not okay to give. Why? Because that person is able to work. And he is, I don't think he has any problem not working. Most of them are the native citizens of this country, and they can't work. They're standing on their foot for hours and hours. They may actually do less effort if he's working. If he's working legitimately, he may do less efforts. But the fact is, they want to be tied to 9-to-5 job. They want to just go and hold the side and get any money, anytime they want. This is how I see that. Does that apply to all the cases? It may or may not. Someone may start, for example, and he needs money. I'm just letting you know I don't feel comfortable giving, but I can tell you. But I can tell you that a lot of them that actually are able to work. A lot of them are able to work. And since they are able to work, you should not be given anything. If someone is young, he's standing on his foot for 10 hours. He will do less effort if he's working. Less effort if he's working. In many places, if you go to any of the restaurants, say to them, I want to clean that restaurant before you go, they will let you do that, and they'll give you money, if you want to earn your money legitimately. But they just don't want to do that. And we'll just say today, we have a record job opening here in the country. It's a record job opening. A lot of people can find a job anytime. Why would they not work? This is the question. Do they have disability? If you have a disability, how come you standing on your foot for hours and hours? If you have disability, I don't know. This is just how I see it. If you feel sympathy, you want to give money, I can't tell you don't give money. I'm just letting you. I would not feel comfortable giving money. That's me. Unless the person, in some situation, I don't know. Sometimes, for example, I feel stuck in the highway, for example, I see someone approach me and said, I ran out of money, can I please get some money to put gas? For example. In this case, for example, what I would do is that I go directly pay the pump to give him, for example, some gas. I don't give him money in hand. If he needs gas, I go directly inside and pay the pump so he can get some gas and get going. It could happen this way. This is how I help. And this is how I help. Yes?
That's a good question. I know time is flying. This is an istihala question about what you said about. So in the United States, we have when we go to restaurants, we have food that is wine, with beer. Sometimes you go get beer card, stuff like that, beer battered card. Talking about istihala, like, transformation, so you have something just cooked with alcohol, knowing that when it's cooked, the alcohol evaporates, scientifically it's gone, but some people say it's not good because it's cooked by that, but if we follow the same...
No, it doesn't apply. This is not istihala because cooking with alcohol is prohibited. Cooking with alcohol is prohibited because there's no need to put alcohol, because you put the alcohol in the food to get some flavor. And the flavor stays there, although it has evaporated, the flavor stays there. So that's not 100% istihala.
Okay.
So because the flavor stays there. They put it for the flavor.
Okay.
They put the alcohol for the flavor. And you still get the flavor of the alcohol, although it has evaporated. The fact that you have the flavor, that's not istihala. Because the istihala means that something has changed completely. Completely. No smell, no texture, no color. Completely changed. Think of it as the one that I told you, the example of the dog and the soil, for example.
Yeah.
That just completely became, it was something that became dissolved and became soil again. Completely changed. No smell anymore, no color anymore, no texture anymore. It just completely became soil again. This is istihala, completely changed. So in the cooking with wine, it doesn't happen. You still get the flavor of the wine. Even though it evaporates, you still get the flavor of it. Because that's not istihala. Okay. Any questions, inshallah? Yes, sister. I will say.
It's a question for all of us. Can you think about anything that we could kind of change our society, being closer to each other and being happier and kind of make kind of daily quote? Maybe you can think about something, that we would kind of draw more happiness here and then come here and say, hey guys, how are you doing today? Instead of people just come and go like they don't even exist. It's like we don't even know each other. It's almost like we were just somebody coming. But we are all brothers and sisters here, correct?
Yes.
And we should do that more, and we should be more like happier, perkier. And then while we're here, we should be so happy and smiling coming to my masjid, correct?
Yes, of
Instead
course.
of being so rude and so kind of boring, and then, you're coming for namaz, and this is beautiful place, it's the most beautiful building in Vermont, correct? And my question is there any way that we can kind of change the way of coming here and being happy yet?
Well, we could do a lot of things we can try to do a lot of things to change.
Life is complicated, of course, but then, this is the best place to be.
Yes, of course. And we'll try to do that this summer, inshallah. We hope that we do a lot of activity this summer, inshallah.
Yeah,
Because there are no restrictions anymore in terms of the gatherings.
Exactly, and then bring these beautiful people.
Sure.
Whatever we have so many people in Vermont, but it's only 10 people that comes to masjid. It's so scary.
Yes.
It's very scary, and let's make us happy at least. Whoever comes, let's smile. Let's be, oh my dear, alhamdulillah, we are here. We have this. It's the most beautiful place.
Yes.
But
But you still have some people not smile for whatever happened to them. They will not smile still.
Well, but let's think about something. As a imam, let's think about quote for the day. Let's say, oh yeah, I have to tell you this funny story, or something that people would recognize.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you a funny story about the thing about giving the homeless people money. A funny story that I have experienced.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I told you this before.
Great. Let's
So a long time ago, I used to work for a friend of mine. He had a convenience store. I used to help him in the convenience store. That was maybe I would say more than 17 years ago, when I was living in Minnesota. So he's a person who I used to see a person coming. So I was to work in the store, owned by my friend. I used to work with him. So there was that guy, homeless guy, an African American, homeless. very skinny and is very, the kind of people who walk very fast, they're very tiny and it's very active. And he used to like go out in the streets, begging people for money. That's all he does. One time, so he always come to our store and, use the bathroom, he wash his face and get some break, and then continue. I never minded that he come and so one time I told him, why don't you have a job and work? Instead of, going around and asking people for money, why don't you have a job? And he said that I have a broken hip. I said, well, you do more work than what I do. I mean, if you work, you do a lot of effort, a lot of energy. I see a lot of energy. You work more hours than what I do, actually. So I don't think your broken hip will prevent you from what I've seen of having a job. So anyways, I said I will think about it. And then one time, I just noticed that he disappeared. He doesn't come anymore. And then a few months later, he came and I saw him. And then he just came wearing nice clothes and stuff. And then he said, I want to thank you for giving me the advice. I was able to find a job. And I applied for a program, a state program that they gave me apartment. I qualified for some program that gave me an apartment, so I'm not homeless anymore. And I have a job. So I just want to thank you that my life changed and all that. And I want to thank you so much for this advice. And now I see myself better, than what I used to do in the past. Okay, so I was very happy to see him this way, of course. It was so, someone's changed this way. Not so long after this, and it was the weekend, I saw him again in the street, begging for money. So I was like, wondering, what happened? I thought you got a job. He said, yeah, I have a job. I work Monday and Friday, and I beg on the weekends only.
It's making more money.
So I said, I'm making more money in the weekends. I don't have to sit down. So that just tells us that these people have this habit. It's a habit here. Not actually they need money.
But we might change though.
So I hope you laugh. Alhamdulillah, you laugh.
So one thing to add to the sister, and I think it's a community thing. Like we should all come up with ideas, because I don't think just the Imam can have the ideas. If someone has better ideas, things that, we should do this or we should do that, I think we should all come up with ideas. What can we do to bring the community together? Because reality, what you're saying, sister, it's true. The masjid is empty, everyone is doing their own thing. But if we had, just example, had a potluck here, the masjid would be full.
Potlucks.
People like food, people like their stomach to be full. So maybe
he can do it kind of like he's doing a beautiful job on food by it's a blessing, correct? It's a blessing for all of us, correct?
Yes.
I watch him even, because this is my place, I love this and so on. But maybe he can think about something else that he can draw this beautiful young man that comes every night. Maybe he can bring his friends. Maybe that he can share something that we don't know, some secrets, correct?
Yeah.
It would probably help that, correct? We all ask him questions, and he is our Imam, correct?
Yep.
And he's probably having better sources than we do.
True.
And then,
So the thing we're trying to do this summer, actually, as you mentioned, that we're all going to focus on social gatherings, bringing back the potluck dinners and outdoor barbecues.
And the youngest.
Yes, you remember last year what we did, the youth barbecue. Remember what we did last year? It was outdoors. You remember that? It was a very good gathering, and we tried to do that more often this year, inshallah.
Yes. Yeah.
Last year we only had it once, and it was a very good gathering. This year we'll try to do more often, inshallah, more of them, and as well as for the adults.
Yeah, I know.
This is one thing. The other thing is what people usually still skeptical about coming back to the masjid. It will be a gradual thing for them to come at full capacity.
They're going to be skeptical no matter what. Let's do what we can do.
So if you notice now, there's no reason for us to pray at distance anymore. So now we're meeting and we shake hands, and we hug and we do all these things. But there's no reason to be praying distance anymore. But we still pray distance.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you that.
Okay. There is no reason. I don't see any reason now, because now people are accustomed to do that for a long
I
time.
never see that exactly, and I'm just afraid that we praying for all this time, being divided this much, and then what are we really doing? We were required to
But then they're saying because we are now in a transition period between the end of this pandemic into the getting back to normal. So this transition period will take time until we get fully back to normal, and that's why we try to get things gradually getting through. Inshallah.
We need to hold on this place no matter what we do.
Inshallah.
I just think that we need to save this place, that's all.
Inshallah, we'll do that. Inshallah. هذا وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد سبحانه وبحمده أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.
It lasted.